Hello everybody, this is a brand new podcast called the Banhammer Podcast, where we're going to be talking about games, all new and old, mixing it up a little bit. Maybe this is going to go somewhere, maybe it's not, who knows. Maybe we're going to get one play, maybe we're going to get zero, maybe we'll get a lot of plays, but for now, we're going to be talking about our experiences probably and a bit about ourselves. My name is Hush, and with me in the studio is Mr.
Levi.
So how are you?
Good. Interesting. I mean, new podcast.
Yeah, but the thing is, we've been talking about doing this for the last, well, how long? About a month and a half now? I mean, we've even attempted this once, but I had to cut it short. We weren't too sure on the name of the show. I'm still not too sure. Not
it's
everyone
the
gets
Banhammer. Come on, you've played MMOs, surely.
I've played a lot of RPGs, and I'm guessing we'll have a lot of time to talk about RPGs.
Yeah,
in
we
the
will.
Future,
we will.
You know? But the key thing is basically how this worked out is I own a studio, and I work with a lot of youngsters doing music projects and that thing with like local schools and the colleges, and then Levi came along, and it turned out that we had quite a similarity in taste of music. He's younger than me. I'm early 30s. He's
17.
So it's quite a bit of a age gap, but because we're both kind of well into games, I grew up playing games, and I've got quite a lot of knowledge on particularly stuff from the past. And I'll still play, modern stuff as well. And the same with you. You're kind of partial to a bit of the retro stuff as well, aren't you? And you play a lot of...
Yeah, I mean, you can't always play the new stuff. I mean, it's all the same a bit recently. Hey, AAA's being AAA's, going downhill, like usual with companies.
The best thing about the way we both kind of got connected on this theme of games is the fact that we're both kind of very open-minded when it comes to the styles. Now, with me in particular, I'm not the biggest fan of your commercial, run-of-the-mill, like, standard games that that all the kids are into.
Like the Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, and
your Call of Duty.
Obviously, and FIFA and stuff. That almost escaped my mind then. I'm like,
that's
what?
interesting, FIFA.
It's funny when you hit record, you're like, oh, everything escapes from your brain. Can't think straight. Right. But, yeah, I mean, I don't mind them. I really like them as well. They can be really good experiences.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I like to explore and play things that are more obscure. I didn't mean to rhyme. And there's like a lot out there, especially now there's so much out there in the scene. And for me, I like to play modern stuff, but I like to, delve into the past a little bit and play, not necessarily replaying a lot of things that I've played in the past, but even catch up on many things that I've missed.
Yeah, I mean, with me being not exactly old, I'd say I'm like a kid compared to some people. You miss out a lot, especially when you're so focused on AAAs. Like, you have Assassin's Creed, and you've got your Assassin's Creed, your Call of Duties. It's like November. Yeah. The month of November is like AAA month. It's when everything comes out. You have Call of Duty, Battlefield is around then. Normally, that's the death month. That's where all the big titles are released, and you're waiting for that every year. But because you're so focused on that month and them big releases, you do kind of miss out on other things.
Yeah.
Really, like the little RPGs that pass us by when no one's paying attention.
What I love as well at the moment is, in the last few years, the influx and rise of indie gaming. It's something that's kind of like taken my interest in. In some ways, it does almost. It can feel like it's going overboard at times. But to be honest, I like it because it's smaller budget companies and literally people doing games single-handedly. Like, for example, have you heard of a game called Dust?
I've heard of it.
I don't know, a couple of years old or something. An Elysian Tale. I don't know how you pronounce that, but that's an exclusive on the Xbox. And that game it looks amazing, yeah. And when you finally realise that you complete it and the credits roll up, I've not played it myself yet. I've seen quite a bit of footage. My cousin bought it recently. He says good things about it. that was made by one person.
One person.
But that's how it used to be in the past, you know, like sort of in the 80s when computers were like all about cassette loading and that sort of thing. Programming was a big thing back then, and it's kind of like it's when it got into the 90s, the problem was the budgets and the general a lot of gaming got more expensive and harder to do, so teams came into it. And obviously now budgets have kind of exploded so high that it's a big thing. There's a lot of risk involved. So the big publishing companies can't take those same risks, and what they'll do is they'll try and put in the marketing teams that will come up with assumptions and predictions of what they need to do in a game to make it successful, and that limits the creativity, as we all know. But with the indie stuff,
the companies do get fixed up on the money, and like you were saying about the difference between AAAs and indies. I recently picked up an indie game myself, Risk of Rain. It's a roguelike platform shooter.
Those have risen in the last few years. They've always been about, but I didn't even know what a roguelike was until, say, I don't know, a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I stumbled upon them fairly recently, and it's the idea.
For people who don't know what a roguelike is, but I'm guessing most of you do, it's basically you play a game, and it sounds bad, but it's not as bad as you think. You get one life, and when you die, you lose everything and have to start all over again.
Yeah.
And I even thought, at the time, roguelikes would be, you know, a nightmare to play because you lose everything. But a lot of them have got incentives to keep you playing and ways of making it interesting by changing things up. So every time you play, there's a randomization.
Things get
Risk
different.
of Rain, that's quite
Risk of Rain is a very interesting game because it has a difficulty scaling system, and it scales with time. So you start off on the easiest difficulty, and you can be playing for 15-30 minutes, and then all of a sudden, bang, hard. It can go harder and harder and harder. You can be on level 1 and the difficulty can be insane.
I played it like only once. It's a friend of mine, and we used to go. I've not been there for a while, like round his house, because his missus is a bit like, I'm not going to go there, but let's just say she's not a big fan of games, and so we can't do that much anymore. But I used to go around. I think it was about a year ago, like 18 months or something like that. Just after Christmas, last one, the one before, and his brother was there. His brother's into gaming that, and we had, I think it was his Xbox set up, and he had a few roguelikes, and that's what actually got me into them. There was Risk of Rain. It was kind of interesting. It's sort of that, you know, 2D pixel vectory sort of look, you know, and the characters are tiny, but it's like it's on a planet. One sec, my phone's going. I'm gonna have to answer this. I'm gonna have to cut this just momentarily while I take this call.
Welcome to intermission.
Right, apologies for the sudden break. Going back onto where I was talking about. We were talking about, was it Risk of Rain? So I only played it once, but the concept is you the longer you play, the harder it gets, and it does get quite insane in that. But
it definitely gets. It can get extremely stupid. And there's different approaches to it. There's so many different approaches. You have 8 different classes as well. Okay.
Is it? We played it. I think we played it. We actually played it
local
4-player.
Co-op. Yeah,
local.
There's
I don't
online
play a
co-op
lot
as well.
Online. I'm not a massive online. Do you play a lot of online?
It depends on the game. I mean, I played MMOs, and that's kind of why the podcast is called Banhammer itself. MMOs being quite a big part of my gaming experience, really. As a child,
where we sort of different.
Growing up.
I'm not like I played a little bit of online, but I'm not kind of mad about it. I'm more into sort of the solo experience. I like what I like is I like a game to have a defined beginning and a defined ending, and for that experience to be like a journey. And that's how I got into RPGs. So with sort of RPGs, they've got that sort of that the whole storyline thing. Whereas with online, they might have some kind of storyline pack or something.
Yeah,
missions.
but they never really end.
Yeah, they don't
and
really
they carry
end.
on
And
all
it's
the time,
kind of more about the community. But before I go too much on that, I wanted to go back to the roguelites because we were kind of talking about that. But I wanted to know if have you played any of the roguelites?
Any other?
Yeah.
I've played Rogue Legacy. That's roguelite, like a semi-roguelite kind of way, because you don't really lose everything. You get to buy upgrades in the downtime. You can get weapons and stuff, so you don't really lose everything in a way.
That's the top. Is it that top-down thing that was released as a Flash?
It's not
game?
top-down. It's a platformer.
All right, I'm getting mixed up. What's the all right, I'm getting mixed up. There's a rogue game, and it's a top-down game, and it looks a bit like the old Zeldas in dungeons, and it was kind of very Flash-based graphics. I was getting mixed up now.
No.
Oh, there'll be people listening that'll be like, "Oh, it's this," screaming out their name, but it just escapes my mind.
Well,
there are tons of these games I'm aware of that I've not played, but
Spelunky comes to mind.
To be honest, that was one of the very first roguelikes that I got to play a couple of years ago, and that's what made me realise how cool the genre can actually be and how addictive. And Spelunky is one of the best examples. It's a platformer it's basically a side-on game. It reminds me of an old game, a classic game called Rick Dangerous. It was out in the early 90s.
I've not really played that, but I did play a little bit of Spelunky, and I have seen it played, and it does seem very interesting.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's like a platformer roguelike thing. This plays a bit like Risk of Rain.
Yeah, but this is
but
more.
It's more a
collectathon.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say that it's kind of, you essentially, each stage, it's got several different areas, like a Indiana Jones-esque cave-like area to begin with. Then it kind of goes into a jungle, then an ice cave, then a temple stage, and there's like even a secret stage. But it's the amount of little hidden touches and charm that it's got that you're constantly learning things, and it's brutal, really brutal.
Oh, as much as I love roguelikes, games like that, you can die, and you don't just die once.
Yeah, but in this, it's the amount of ways, the sheer amount of ways that you die. Everything's balanced in a perfect way. I think that's why it's been renowned. I know it's had scores. I don't know where from, but I know it's had like 10 out of 10s, 9 out of 10s, that sort of thing. And for good reason. The more you play it, the more you get to realise how well it's done. Like, it's perfected so well. The general mechanics of it. It's kind of the randomisation. In some games, it cannot be 100% optimized so that it always works, and you might be at a disadvantage. In this, if you make a mistake, it's always your fault.
Yeah, it's the player's fault, and precisely because it's the player's fault, it's frustrating.
Yeah, and you can spend all your time getting as much equipment,
buying
up your money
and everything.
And you can think, oh yeah, I'm on a really good run here, but something will happen, and in an instant, you can lose everything.
And you're dead. Better luck next time. Go back and start again. It's only like an hour, 2 hour run.
Yeah, do you go to these like shopkeepers?
Try again.
And they get really pissed off if you do anything wrong. And quite often you'll spend probably like the first, I don't know, at least the first few weeks of playing that, you'll be playing it and realize that it's so easy to accidentally trigger the shopkeeper into like angry mode, and basically you get labelled a terrorist, and then he whacks out his shotgun and tries chasing you and shooting you like crazy.
You've wiped a bit of dust off his counter. You're now a terrorist. You pretty much got to run.
On that one stage, you become the terrorist.
Every single shopkeeper.
Every shop.
Every shop.
Every level after that. But it has an advantage. If you learn how to handle that, you can then get the items for free. But it comes at a high price. I mean, I didn't even... that was another technique. There's always different techniques to doing things, you know. And you can like sacrifice people, sacrifice on altars.
In roguelikes, though, isn't it?
There's lots of different items. There's like a crazy one which teleports you into, through walls. It's really good. But I still don't know how this works 100%, because I've seen videos of people using it where they seem to know what they're doing and do speed runs. But you teleport through walls, but quite often it's like a gamble. If you get it wrong, it'll teleport you into the wall and you'll just die instantly.
Yeah, you saying roguelikes recently. Boshi comes to mind. Boshi.
I've heard of something called rock boshes, but I've not heard of Boshi.
I want to be the man as well comes to mind.
I want to be the man. Which one's that?
It's a platformer.
Again, I've heard of Stick It to the Man, but I've not heard of No, I think I may have done. It rings a bell.
I'm more familiar with Boshi. You play as like a little triangle. And
you can say you play as a little
yellow triangle. His name is Boshi. And today is his first day at school. Now it's very weird. It's very, very difficult, and it's simple. The graphics are very simple, and because they're very simple geometric shapes. As soon as you touch the smallest point of a spike, you're dead. If you touch the side of the spike, you're dead.
It's a roguelike.
It's not really a roguelike because it's save points, but it's that element of difficulty is there.
Yeah.
And you said speedruns, and that's why it triggered Boshi, because a lot of people, any percent speedruns, people try it, and it's crazy. It
sounds like the frustration you get from Flappy Bird.
It's like you play Flappy Bird and then amplify it by like 100 times, and you're probably getting just close to Boshi. I mean, level 1, if you don't know what you're doing, it can take you a lot of attempts. You can be dying lots of times.
Exactly like Flappy Bird.
And it's pixel perfect.
Yeah.
You've got to be pixel perfect with it, otherwise you're dead.
It reminds me of I don't know, have you seen that? If you went on YouTube and typed something like hardest puzzle in the world game or something like that, there was a game I remember seeing. I think it's like a maze, and you're a little dot, and you can move the dot through the maze, but there's lots of obstacles and
no, I haven't really heard of it. Sounded a bit like when you said the little dot and the little shapes. I was thinking Geometry Dash.
No.
And the Impossible game, and they're other games which can be insanely frustrating and hours wasted to die.
Speaking of hours wasted, another roguelike that I quite got into, I managed to finish it as well. That is Legend Dungeon.
I've heard of it. Yeah, it looks interesting. I'd have to try it out at one point.
It's got that sort of like 3D pixel look, and it's kind of like playing on the old retro.
Yeah.
Pixel look, but it's modernized it, and it's got cool lighting. The lighting looks really cool. It's like a simplistic layout.
It looks a bit like Terraria. It reminded me a bit of Terraria.
Yeah,
with the way the items work.
Essentially, what you do is you start off in a tavern, and and if you do anything wrong in there, like hit the wrong person, they'll come after you and start beating you. And it's a bunch of randomized floors, and each floor's got several rooms. And you can go at your own pace and that, and on every floor there's always a set of stairs that then lead to the next floor.
So basically you're going down.
Yeah, and I can't remember how many floors there are. There's something like, I don't know, 24, 25, something like that. And the idea is to get to the bottom, the last floor, collect the treasure, and then make your way back up. But every single floor, like I said, it's randomized, and there's a lot of strange things that I don't think from like I use a forum called Remakes, and there's a lot of it's a gaming forum essentially, and from like the general reactions and feedback I've seen on that, when and even just reading about it seems to get mixed reviews. I kind of understand from some points, but some of these negatives actually were positives for me. It's like whenever you play it, some of the buttons and things are confusing because you'll have levers and they don't do anything. From what I've actually read as well, the music in it isn't like just a preset soundtrack. It's a lot of layers, and they interact with each other musically. Yeah. But if you press levers, some of them will do things like just move to change the music, but without you realizing it. And
that has actually changed the music.
Yeah, it'll help evolve it. The music's really, really good. I find that with a lot.
It may be like these levers, it's not that they don't do anything, it's just they're doing things you can't pick up on, or because of the untrained ear, you're not realizing what's actually going on when they've changed the music. So that's really interesting.
It's like you'll get. I mean, obviously, some of them
With
will
the
actually
developed
unlock
music.
hidden floors and things like that, or hidden rooms and that sort of thing.
You can go and get your chest
Yeah, but
with your items in.
You can pick up potions and things, but the interesting thing is, if you like all your potions, every time you play, you'll see the same potions and they'll be like ink black or blood red. And they'll have crazy names and that. There's all sorts of crazy items. But you won't know what the potions actually do until you use them. And every time you play it, they actually randomize. The effect of the potion randomizes between each potion type. So the blood red one could harm you in one game. In another one, it could give you health. So, but it adds to that kind of like frustration. But it actually also makes it more interesting because you got to work out what to do, and you can pick up as many items as you want. But the more items you pick up, there's no like clear inventory where you can easily access it. It's like one long list that you can scroll through horizontally, and you've got to remember the more items you pick up, the longer it's going to take for you to choose the item that you want. And when you're in shit creek,
you ain't got no paddle.
Yeah,
you ain't got no paddle.
So you've got to be careful, and the amount of you get a bunch of hats and all kinds of stuff like.
Did you say
and
hats?
Yeah, lots of crazy things that you put on.
Hats.
Put on your head. All like
it
some of
seems
the
like
names
the
are
game's playing Team Fortress 2 now. I mean,
yeah,
hats. Gotta love hats in that game. I mean, it's the only reason to play that game is to wear a hat with another hat on top of it inside a hat.
Yeah.
Quite interesting. Well, the thing with roguelikes and indie games at the moment is the fact that too much. It's becoming a bit too much. It seems like Minecraft happened and indie games happened, and then after that, everyone kind of jumped the bandwagon a bit. And it feels like indie games are becoming a bit OTT, a bit too much now. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like them. I like them a bit, but they can't replace AAAs.
I know, but
not now. I mean, yeah, it's great that we have indie games. It's great that we have new developers coming along, but it seems that sometimes it's just straight up copying another game and then just changing the name. And I mean, it's been shown multiple times, especially on people with YouTube. I know Total Biscuit's done videos and of a game that copied an old SNES game.
Yeah, but
and it's like,
there's one thing though, that's kind of part of how things evolve. Like games copy games.
Yeah,
and
games copy games. But I mean, like straight rip-offs.
Yeah,
and then
I mean,
just changing the name.
That's going to happen, but that has happened throughout history. There were many games in the past that have been
they're gonna rip stuff
made
off
and ripped off a lot of other games in the past. You know what I don't agree with is when you've got a small, like single developer who comes up with this amazing idea. Like I think Bejeweled was the same, and then that got picked up by, it was just someone like Zynga or something.
It got picked up by PopCap.
Yeah, it was that sort of thing, like a huge company, and that company then stole the original idea and made it their own and blew
the IP, the intellectual property.
And then they made all the money, and that just
it's wrong.
Multi-millions of pounds, dollars, whatever, came to that company, and the original person was, just left sort of.
It's not right that
just to the people who know
companies have the power to do that, but unfortunately, it's the way of the world currently, and I don't think anything that I can say or do will change it. I'd like to try, and I will try probably, but I don't think what I say or do might change that. But going back to AAAs, recently they've been on the decline in quality. I mean, what Ubisoft have done recently is insanely stupid. What they did with Watch Dogs, that's a while back, but that cost them a lot of flack. And then they did it with Assassin's Creed Unity. It seems that companies these days that make AAA games aren't reliable. You can't reliably pick up a game and expect it to be good content. You can't expect it to work. If you can't expect a game to work, why are you dropping £60
really
on a game?
On the PCs especially. I mean,
I know, like consoles have it easy because a lot of the games made by AAA companies are developed for consoles and then ported over to PC, and it becomes a problem that
because
they've released it on console, they've tried to port it to PC, and it's just like, well, it doesn't work. Why does it not work? multiple reasons, and a lot of it comes down to the fact that it's scaled down for consoles sometimes, and they can't scale it up well. I mean, there's been bad ports of a lot of stuff, but the few good ports they are done well.
Yeah.
Square Enix comes to mind with good ports. I know they've done good ports, but like, if you can't reliably buy a game from a AAA company for like, and you're paying top dollar for a game and it's not working.
Yeah, definitely. Just like Assassin's Creed Unity. I mean, that's
it was buggy as anything.
That's one of the worst cases I've heard recently, unless you can tell me another one. But I know that we were just talking to a guy earlier today that was really dishing it. Based on his experience when he got it. I've heard lots of people saying negative stuff about that. I can totally understand.
And it comes to the point of E3, where they're releasing content at E3 that isn't true to the game. Watch Dogs had a video released at E3, and when the game got released, it was nothing like the video. I mean, it's different. You can't do that as a company. Well, you can clearly, because they've done it and got away with it, but how many times can you do it before the consumer wisens up and says, I've had enough?
But it's become one of those things that over the last few years, it seems to become more of an issue online, particularly because everyone is connected and it's easier to spread news between one another. So, but it's unfortunate that happens. It was like I don't know a lot off the top of my head, a lot of examples, because the thing with me in gaming, I kind of play a lot of the sort of games that are at least maybe a year old, or and as well as the retro stuff. I'm not kind of ahead of the game. I read about a lot of things, but I kind of it bothers me less
because you're not
it doesn't impact me as much.
You're not buying the brand new games. You're not spending a lot of money on these new games.
I was reading about this actually on Remakes, and the only advantage, I think, but it depends if you're kind of like involved in those circles and enjoy talking about gaming. But if you get like a brand new game, the good thing about it is that you're involved when the other people are, and if you're in sort of some kind of community, you can
join in on the talk and everything.
And it's that banter that you get. And sometimes I think like, I'd love to kind of get a bit involved in that sort of thing. But I'm playing games that are kind of like, it's several years old. Like, there's
the communities are like smaller and smaller and smaller. And it's like, there's like one other guy who lives in like South Wales who's playing the game you're playing. But and going back to E3. E3 is next month.
Is it?
It's next month.
And when the dates are for
Square Enix,
these shows and that,
announced that they've got several games planned to be shown. I know that. I think there's been hints at a Just Cause 3, which I'm quite interested in because I like Just Cause 2. It was like open worldy. You did what you want. It was like GTA.
I've seen it. Yeah.
Not GTA in a way. It was like you're not like the gangster kind of archetype. Instead, you're like CIA, or agency, whatever, and then you're an agent. So it was a bit of a different take on that. But I like the open world, and you had the grapple hook and a parachute. That was how I got around. I was grappling hooking and parachute.
I've not got a lot of experience with it, but I remember seeing this
helicopters
scene
and stuff
where you might even be familiar with that. I just saw a video of some guy playing it, and I can't remember which one it was. And there's some kind of like gas canister, and you can get on it or like jump on it or attach yourself to it, hug it or whatever. But you can set it off by firing it or something. Yeah. And it fires into the sky but takes you up into the air.
You can attach yourself like that, and shoot it.
And then when he gets right into the air, I think he leaps off it and then opens his parachute or something like that. Like similar to all the kind of crazy stuff you get on GTA, you know. This is another game that I believe it or not, I've never played.
Never played a GTA. I played GTA 5, and that was I'm not gonna say underwhelming, but that's another circumstance of developers not delivering.
Yeah.
We're gonna introduce heists.
Do you know what's funny?
It took you long enough, Rockstar, but you did it eventually. I mean, what the hell?
What is funny?
What's wrong with you?
What is quite funny is people's expectations in this day and age compared to what we got sort of 20 years ago. Like
You've got
games
I mean,
back then were like barely playable. Not everything, but definitely
some of them were like barely playable.
But there will have been a lot of games that, even popular ones that were very difficult. You only have to look at the likes of stuff like Simon's Quest on the NES, which I've not played myself, but I know
now you're going before my time. I wasn't even existing.
This was this Castlevania game. It was basically it had a lot of things in it that were just made the game very difficult.
Yeah.
Like there's one where you had to stand. It's a well-known thing if you look online, but I think AVGN, Angry Video Nerd, did a video on that, and you had to stand somewhere for so long. It was like 20 seconds in one place, and you didn't really have any clues on it. And you had to know to do that. Stupid things like that. But someone then made a remake of it just recently, fixing all those problems how it should have been made, But you don't get them problems then. What I'm saying ultimately is that modern games are kind of... They are really good.
They're good.
You don't get a lot of bad games. You get some.
Yeah, like Dark Souls. I mean, it's sad
that's not a bad game. That sounded like you were saying it was bad.
No, Dark Souls has been a hard game and a very difficult game. But
Dark Souls is something that it's one of those. There's a bunch of games. I don't know if do you have that where you have like sort of a list of games in your mind or certain ones that you really want to play but you've not got around to playing yet, but you really want to do.
I've got a backlog so long I don't think I'll ever complete it.
It's like
there's too
it's like
many
a
games.
mental pile of shame.
I also have a digital pile of shame on my Steam.
Do you know what?
Just
specifically don't
loads
do that.
of games, and half of them are probably from Humble Bundle that I will never ever play.
I never jumped on Steam. I don't really use Steam.
Oh, you missed out. I mean,
I know. I'm more of a console.
For Skyrim? You really missed out.
I played a few things on the PC, but I generally play more stuff on my PS3. But it's
if you ever do go to PC, you can always just buy a controller.
Yeah.
It's always a possibility. Because
I know it's definitely worth it.
There's stuff on PC that will never make it to console.
Yeah.
I mean, recently, being a fan of fighting games, Skullgirls has come over.
That's on the PS3.
PSN.
It's on. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And it was originally on PC. I have it on PC.
Have you actually got that?
That game was like
PC. Yeah.
Horrible when it was released. You could go online and you could have someone would combo you infinitely. Because of the way the game was designed, it was so you could do these crazy combos. You had resets and juggles, and it got to the point where if someone could start the combo, you probably weren't playing the game.
Yeah.
But they've managed to fix it, and especially with the release of Skullgirls Encore on PlayStation Network, they have fixed all them problems with the Undizzy and stuff like that, which is basically an infinite protection system to stop that from happening, to stop stupid vortexes and things like that.
From what I know, I don't know too much about it, but when it first came out, I remember it. One thing about it is it wasn't trying to. It was an indie game sort of thing.
Yeah, it wasn't. It's an indie game.
But it wasn't trying to overkill with the number of players. It kept the players to I'm sure there was only 8 characters that you could choose.
Yeah, it kept the characters low.
Is it still that way or is it evolved?
There's like DLC.
I wouldn't be surprised.
There's DLC, but the way they did DLC is that it's free in the first 2 weeks.
Right.
So if there's a character and you're playing, the first 2 weeks you can get that character for free. And I do agree with that, because especially games like Mortal Kombat 10, which I recently picked up, and Killer Instinct, you're having to buy characters. And it gets to the point where you can't play the game because you've not got the characters to play the game with. So
yeah, I know what you mean.
There's how much is Killer Instinct? You're gonna pay what, £40 for a game to buy characters for a game?
If you're playing
a game?
do you play the solo player, single player?
I do play single player on fighting games, but fighting games aren't really to me. They're not made for that. To me, a fighting game is you pit yourself against someone else.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, if you're playing against human characters, you're gonna get more out of it that way.
Yeah, it's a lot more interesting.
I kind of wondered whether with the DLCs, do you actually get to fight? And do you fight any of the DLCs even if you've not got?
I've not encountered any, but to be honest, I've not played Skullgirls a lot recently because of Mortal Kombat.
I thought they might do is they might incorporate some of them in them.
I know that
just to
DLC have their own story, I think.
Into actually getting it. So it's if you're playing against, I wouldn't mind playing that character, because then it's in your mind and you're thinking, that move looks quite cool.
That's a very interesting idea, and they might have done it. I don't know. I said, I haven't played Skullgirls because I got a PS4, And I
Right.
bought more fighting games. I got Injustice free on PSN, which was quite interesting.
Injustice, yeah.
Yeah, it tied me over till Mortal Kombat came out. I mean,
Yeah.
I played MK9 on PS3 and absolutely hated Shao Kahn. I
Right.
mean, it didn't have the best netcode, and it was quite fun. I mean, it's a Mortal Kombat game. I've been playing them since I was like 6.
Yeah, it's been, me personally, like, I used to play them back probably around when they started to get popular. Like, my history on those is, like, round about when Street Fighter 2 came out. Although I had a thing called Atari ST, which is kind of around an Amiga days, like, and those use floppy disks, and the Atari ST port of Street Fighter 2 was absolutely appalling. You quite literally, after almost every match, you had to swap the discs and wait for it to load in between matches, that sort of thing. And it was slow, really slow and cumbersome. And the controls, you literally had a joystick, and that joystick had one fire button, and you kind of had to control everything with that one button. It's like, you could just think about that. It might have been, I can't remember how
that
you
would
did it.
be really interesting.
It might have been like, oh yeah, you held something down on the keyboard to block or whatever, but it just,
That was
I don't know
probably
how they
how
got
it
around
was
that.
done. Like, you just had like something like a hitbox. I'm pretty sure they're called hitboxes now. You know how you have a fight stick, you have a joystick, and then you'll have like 4 buttons.
Yeah.
Well, 8 buttons even. A hitbox, instead of having a joystick,
yeah,
will have 4 buttons
yeah,
for up, down, left, and right.
yeah.
And some people swear by them, some people swear by keyboard. I personally have a Hori fight stick
they've
myself.
been really interesting. Like I said, I've been interested in picking some up. Like, I've got a friend who's really into his Street Fighter, and he's so excited about Street Fighter 5 coming out. But he's got a Hori stick, and
I know that I think they're gonna port Ultra Street Fighter 4 onto PS4.
Well, he was showing me that.
And if they do,
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna pick myself up a copy of that anyway, because the PS3 version, I don't know what it was. It felt like input lag. I really don't know,
Yeah, you
but I was
said that a few weeks ago.
playing solo, and it just felt horrible to play. I just didn't like it. Maybe it's because recently I've not been playing rhythm fighters a lot. I've been playing more of just mash all your inputs at once, especially with Mortal Kombat. That's the kind of fighter where you know your combo, you just want to mash your inputs.
When you say
straight
rhythm
away.
fighter, what do you mean?
There's timing. It's a lot about timing.
Right.
In between
I was
combo.
thinking I thought you were talking about a special genre that I'd not even heard of, like
No.
rhythm dance games or like rhythm fighter.
Rhythm fighter, you have a joystick
Press
and a
left,
DDR
dun,
dance,
dun,
man.
press
Now let's
right,
go.
Dun, 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 jump, dun, 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 jump, dun, 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 punch, dun, 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 kick, dun, dun, dun.
Didn't they make
Right.
They made a Dragon Ball game for Kinect, which I'm gonna imagine is probably like that.
Yeah.
Nah, I call them rhythm fighters because it's a lot about timing. Guilty Gear comes to mind. I picked up that recently. Guilty Gear Xrd Sign. And yeah, it's a lot about timing. You can't just mash all your input in straight away and expect a combo to come out. You need to have timing. Thus why
Guilty Gear, yeah.
I call it a rhythm fighter.
Some of them get a bit like hectic. I mean,
Guilty Gear is a bit crazy, and you can't really deny it. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff in it. Roman cancels and instant air dashes, air throws, and
you're just spitting
and
stuff at me.
all
that,
these
like,
terms
is
you're
going,
never going to
"Oh,
understand
my-"
until
I
you
heard
play the
some of them,
game.
but like most of it's like what? I played a bit of what's it called, Marvel vs. Capcom 1 and 2 on the
Marvel vs.
Dreamcast a couple of years ago.
Oh, just Marvel vs. Capcom.
Yeah. Again, there's loads of them that I've not played a lot of the new ones. I think the last
I know
one
Ultimate
I
Marvel
played,
vs. Capcom 3 gets some play.
Yeah, the last one I played was Mortal Kombat vs. DC. It was one that a friend had.
Yeah.
But Marvel vs. Capcom, they were so like crazy and in your face and so much going on. I do like them.
It looked a lot like a bullet hell, unless like a fighting game.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I liked about sort of Street Fighter. I didn't play it back in the day, but a friend gave me his Dreamcast a few years ago, and I got hold of Street Fighter Third Strike.
Street Fighter Third Strike.
And there's still a following to that, isn't there?
Yeah, I know there's like people still play. I mean, I think there's still tournaments on it. I know like in America, Street Fighter's a big thing. I know like Street Fighter 4 people are sponsored by professional gaming teams. I know K-Brad, who I think's a Kami player on Ultra Street Fighter 4, is sponsored by
what's
Evil
Kami player?
Geniuses. There's a character called Cammy in Street
Oh,
Fighter.
right. I know who Cammy is.
You know who Cammy is.
Yeah.
You know,
I thought you
Kylie
meant,
Minogue played her in that really
course,
bad
course,
live
I know who Cammy is.
action film. I can't believe you asked that question.
No, I was thinking.
I can't believe
there was
you asked
a
that question.
type of character called a Cammy player,
A Cammy player, you know?
like a camo roll Cammy player. I don't know, something weird.
Oh, terrible. Terrible. You know,
Anyway, moving on.
I'll say Hugo player. And what's a Hugo player?
I thought you meant a type of character.
What's a El Fuerte player? Don't worry, they're all assholes. But yeah, I know that Street Fighter does have quite a big following in America. Jason Wong is a professional player. Funny thing, recently he's been playing Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
And there was a video posted on YouTube. I got linked to it, and he was playing Jax, and it's like some against a 6-year-old kid. I felt sorry for the kid because he kind of sat there spamming low rocket launcher and beat this kid. And this kid was raging on the microphone, and I was sat there like, I feel sorry for you, kid. And you hear him at the end, and it's just like, welcome to the real world. Grow up. and that kid lost his innocence that day.
Do you think what do you think about what do you think about like the state of beat 'em ups at the moment? Because like are they kind of building up? Are they pretty popular at the moment? I know they're
popular in their own circles. They're popular, and that goes for everything in life.
You know,
in general.
from the way I've seen it, is
but they're pretty underground still. I mean, over in the UK, they're underground.
Oh,
like,
definitely.
No one like. You used to be able, I used to be able to walk to the shop, and it was like, oh, I was playing Street Fighter 2 the other day, and expect the shopkeeper to know what I was on about. Nowadays, no. And then again, the only reason I expected him to know what it was on about is because he used to frequent an arcade.
Right, okay.
With a Street Fighter cabinet. But the problem is that it's not well known. The advertisement isn't really there, because advertisement these days is all AAAs.
Yeah.
You watch, the only advertisements you'll see for games on a TV is either these stupid iPod games, no offense to Clash of the Clans or whatever it's called, but they either seem to be that game or clones of that game. Call of Duty, when it comes near November. FIFA, when FIFA comes out. And the odd AAA game, like recently The Witcher 3, which is... I'm going to pick up at one point because it looks really interesting. But you never see beat-em-ups. You never see fighters or anything like that. And I don't know why, really. I know they're not big over here, but they've always been underground, really.
Speaking of that, though,
always
you know, with
been.
Street Fighter 5, I've not read about it much recently, but I know when it first got announced, is it still supposed to be an exclusive to Sony?
It is going to be PlayStation 4 exclusive, and by that I mean,
like, is
PS4,
it going to stay?
PS3.
Or, I mean, I can't see that happening. Surely at some point,
Sony bought out rights for the game. I'm pretty sure Sony bought out rights for the game because of development issues.
They actually paid for it, didn't they?
Yeah, they're paying for the game.
They wanted that franchise on their system,
yeah,
so Sony paid for it.
Basically, it's what happened to Bayonetta.
Because Capcom have started to
basically
go down the drain, just like everyone else, Konami and all the other classic big companies.
You say Konami and I say, why is Bloodstained being made?
I thought you were going to say you say Konami, I say Konami. Right.
Why you do this? Why you do this, man? No, it's just Konami have been screwing up recently.
Yeah, Bloodstained was an example. Yeah, Konami.
And it's not exactly a small thing.
Yeah. The Hideo Kojima issue with, you know, he's
MGS, yeah,
and well, it was the Silent Hill thing, you know, with the I never actually played it, but the PT demo that everyone's been going on about.
I've never played it, and again, I've like, you may shoot me now because what I'm gonna say will probably get me shot anyway. I haven't really played a Metal Gear Solid game.
Do you know what? You're not alone. I've never played a Metal Gear Solid game.
I haven't really played them, and I'm probably going to pick up at one point.
I mean, it's maybe more understandable with you because Metal Gear...
whatever it's called.
It's more understandable with you because of your age. You could have, like, skipped that series completely. I mean, it is big, but it's still... I say it's big, but it's still fairly niche compared to... It's still fairly niche compared to your likes of your Call of Duties and stuff.
Call of Duty is like, you know, massive compared to it, I guess.
For me, I did play the demo of the first game, and for someone like that was playing into gaming when I was playing it, most people would have played it at least at some point. but I just never got around to doing it. And the worst thing about it is, it's a gaming series that I've always wanted to try out, but I've just never got around to it. And part of that is because of my... it's my pickiness with playing things in order.
Yeah.
I don't always do it, but I'm kind of like,
I know what you mean, because
I like to
recently
do that, yeah.
I'm doing that with DMC. I picked up all the DMC games.
I'm doing the same thing with that as well.
I'm starting from DMC.
Oh, you're starting from... What, you're starting from DMC?
No, not the remake, the original. I'm going to start from Devil May Cry.
Well, I can relate to you on that, because it was only literally last year that I think it was last year, or it might have been late the year before, but I'm pretty sure it was last year that I played Devil May Cry for the first time.
I picked up Devil May Cry 4 on release. It was released around my birthday, and I did pick it up. Never really got into it, and then sold it.
What are you playing it on? What system?
I'm playing it on a combination of PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4. No, actually, I'm all on PS3. I didn't buy DMC on PS4.
Like a digital download sort of thing?
No, I literally went out to Game, looked for them pre-owned.
Oh, the HD remake?
Picked them up, HD remakes, yeah.
To be honest, I'm actually interested in that, and I like the concept of HD remakes. Some people kind of like, why are you bringing out the same stuff? But to be honest...
If it's a HD remake, yes, but recently we're having games re-released at full price.
Oh, yeah, on the next console, so it's
on the next console, it's like...
Yeah.
I'm going to say GTA, even though when I say remakes, I mean games that are old. I mean Final Fantasy games are being re-released.
Yeah.
Affordable prices on Steam, $7.99. I'll pay for a Final Fantasy game, because I'll probably pick up FF7, Whole of Cloud.
It's been so long since I played that. I picked
it up
on launch.
It's been a while for me.
Just after launch, I think. It's the only time I've ever spent £45 on a game.
I was probably too young when I got it to really get into it. I mean, I played Crisis Core recently and loved it.
Yeah, I'm not one of them ones for getting games when they launch. I mean, you can call me all you want, but to be honest, it's just...
It doesn't appeal.
It's not even that. It's like, there's that much out there. I can quite easily, happily play stuff that's a bit older, I'm not, and because there's that much out there, I don't throw myself into the latest stuff, all the time.
I'm probably skint by the end of this year. I saw what was releasing, and they're all the games I really enjoy. Final Fantasy 15, looking to be end of this year, beginning of next year. Like probably spring next year. End of this year is going to be Kingdom Hearts 3. Hopefully Fallout 4 gets announced next month at E3.
Have you played all the Kingdom Hearts?
I've played every single Kingdom Hearts game.
Really?
To be honest,
I've been looking at those because I had this. I've got the first one.
They're great.
PS2.
They're great. You should play them. I mean,
it's alright. I did get stopped because I got a bit bored of it. But
I don't know. The Disney thing, they're so good that you don't actually. They didn't need the Disney part to it, but they did need the Disney part.
I think when I got it, because it was a Square Enix game, I thought it was going to be more of an RPG,
like more
but
serious.
It's not.
It is an RPG in a way, but
it is. But it's like you could say an action RPG, but it feels more like a platform game with
it's an action RPG.
It's been a long time, but I did kind of at the time see the appeal in. It was something unique, seeing a Disney game, and especially a lot of the ones in the first one, they were Disney games, Disney films that I saw when I was growing up.
Yeah,
so like The Little Mermaid and The Jungle Book, they were classic ones. But
I know Winnie
how's
the Pooh's
it changed? Like, because I'm thinking a lot of the later Disney stuff, there's a lot of things that I haven't really seen, and I'm thinking, I probably wouldn't relate to it.
I know that in Kingdom Hearts 2, you have stuff like Pirates of the Caribbean. You go to Hercules is in it.
Yeah, that's in the first one.
Yeah, you go back, you revisit stuff.
Right.
You revisit stuff, and I know Hollow Bastion is in it with obviously Leon and Aerith making appearances from the Final Fantasy series, which is really interesting.
I actually completely forgot about that for a second. Yeah.
You forgot about it. You forgot about Aerith and Leon. Just don't talk to me anymore. don't speak to me. I'm leaving. Goodbye. Let me go. No, Kingdom Hearts, it has that one place, Hollow Bastion. I think that's it for Final Fantasy characters making cameo appearances. But after that, you revisit. I'm pretty sure you revisit worlds you revisited in Kingdom Hearts 1. I mean, I loaded up Kingdom Hearts 2 9 months ago.
Who's the character in the first one? No, I knew there was a Final
Sora
Fantasy,
in the first one, and then it's Roxas in the second one. Ventus in Birth by
No,
Sleep.
because you got to remember who is Sora in. Is he a character in Final Fantasy? Because I've not right.
They're not characters. They're like characters made for. They're like the Kingdom Hearts characters.
Right. Okay.
Along with like the nobodies and the dark.
So what? Because it's like 10 years since I played this. Like, which Final Fantasy characters are in the first one then?
I'm pretty sure it's just the Hollow Bastion characters. It's just Leon, like Aerith. I think Yuffie's in it.
Right. It's been so long. I never actually finished it.
I know Cloud. I don't think Cloud and Tifa are in it.
Yeah, I did get like quite into it.
I think Aerith's in it. I really can't remember. I've not played like Kingdom Hearts. I played them 9 months ago. I know Kingdom Hearts 3 is coming out, so I'm probably going to load them back up and complete them again. And I'm going to buy that. And then I'm probably going to save up and buy Disgaea 5. I mean, I've sunk too many hours of my life into that series to not buy that game, even though it's like...
I was telling my housemate about this.
Comic relief. I have a PSP, and unfortunately, I don't think I still have my save, but I know on Disgaea 2...
Oh, you told me about this.
On Disgaea 2, I had some stupid amount of hours.
Are you even going to reveal to how many hours?
What? It wasn't that much compared to some of the stuff I played. It was only... I don't know. I can't remember how many. It was something stupid.
Was this the game that was in the... Like, can I just... sort of hint towards how many hours? Put it this way, it wasn't in the hundreds, it was in the thousands.
Yeah, but a lot of that was either me doing little stuff though. You got to take into account that when you have a PSP and half the time you're gonna either leave it on to do something else. A lot of like, at least a third of it was probably like idled. I mean, I'd say a quarter. I didn't go without a PSP wherever I went. It was like, it was my game. It was either Disgaea 2 or Afternoon of Darkness. I think it was Afternoon of Darkness. It was the one with Laharlin.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's not a lot compared to people I know. I know that I have friends who've played World of Warcraft and have thousands of hours in World of Warcraft. I mean, I myself have hundreds of hours in that game. It's not really hard to rack up playtime these days.
Have you, like, speaking of Disgaea, essentially Disgaea is a tactical RPG.
Yeah, it's an SRPG.
It's a fairly niche title unless you're kind of into that series. But, I mean, for me, I've not played one myself, but a friend of mine, he had the ones on the PS2. He had a game called Makai Kingdom.
Makai Kingdom, yeah, because it was made by Nippon Ichi, who made...
Yeah.
Because I think it was the same artist who did the work for Makai Kingdom, did the work for Disgaea, and also...
Yeah, it's the look almost identical.
Yeah, because there's a character, and I think the recurring character is Plenaire.
The recurring character...
And Usagi with the rabbit.
No, there's another one as well. The mascot, the penguin.
Oh, Prinnies. Prinnies. I don't think Prinnies will ever leave. If Prinnies leave, I'm going with them.
Have you seen the game? The actual Prinny games?
Prinny, Can I Be the Hero?
There's two of them
on PSP.
Like platform games.
I've seen them. But
I've just not got it because I've not got a PSP. I've never got a chance to play it. There's a bunch of games on the PSP I wouldn't mind checking out.
I know, like on the PS Vita, I know Disgaea 4 got a port, and I'd like to pick up that, but I'm probably not going to pick it up owning Disgaea 4 on PS3
Do you know
anyway.
What? I've got a PSP title because I borrowed my cousin's PSP many years ago, but I had to give it him back, and I bought a game called Valkyrie Profile. Lenneth, I think it was.
Was it? If it was Lenneth, I never played Valkyrie Profile.
Not the second one. I've got the second one as well. This is the funny. I've never played a Valkyrie Profile. Yeah, I own the PSP version. I've not got a PSP, and I've never played it. And I own Valkyrie Profile Silmeria, and it's still in the wrapping around.
And you've never opened it.
It's still sealed. But it's got to that stage where it's kind of almost like a token.
You don't want to open it.
I don't want to open it. At least
go and buy yourself another copy and play it.
It's not really worth that much. I mean, last time I checked, it was probably about a tenner or something sealed.
Yeah, it's probably not going to be worth a lot. But
it's not even for that. It's just,
You should check it out. I mean, like RPGs on PS2, I've not played a lot of. I've got to pick up a Star Ocean. I'm probably going to grab Star Ocean 5 when it releases.
I told you about this a few weeks ago. Try getting Star Ocean Till the End of Time.
Star Ocean Till the End of Time. The problem is with it is that sci-fi genre. I'm not a massive fan of it.
Really?
I was more of the fantasy kind of guy, really.
You see, I'm kind of the other side, particularly with like the RPGs. That's why I got into
the Mass Effect series.
Well,
I know you're a fan.
Do you know
of
what?
that.
It was I'm into Mass Effect, but going back where I started with RPGs, like I used to play a lot of the SNES ones. We'll probably do a podcast where we talk purely about RPGs and stuff because I know we both got interest.
I know, like this podcast is lasting like ages.
Yeah,
anyway,
we're gonna have to end this pretty soon anyway. Someone's waiting for me right now, and I am absolutely dying for a piss right now so badly.
Oh, thank you for sharing that information with us.
I'm gonna have to bleep that out.
Yeah,
right.
Really, thank you.
But it was when I played Final Fantasy VII. It had kind of like a futuristic element to it. It was all the stuff that I'd played originally.
Yeah. It was different, and that's why I liked 7.
A lot of the old stuff was kind of like that I played originally, like Zelda and a few Secret of Mana and things like that. They were based on old lore, magic, and
Majora's Mask,
mages and dragons and goblins and all that kind of thing. But then Final Fantasy VII took this different approach, and it also is the game that was responsible for really westernizing the RPGs and bringing them into this part of the world. But
me liking that game totally has nothing to do with like the blonde-haired dude with a massive sword in his back. Totally
that had a lot of other things, aspects, and a lot of charm. But then when Final Fantasy, I don't know if you ever played Final Fantasy VIII, but that really took that realism and it kind of changed things a bit.
I played 10.
Yeah, and then I played
12, I think.
I played Star Ocean 2 on the PS1. It's called Second Story again, and that's. I got interested by that sort of combination. You know, again, it was a sort of sci-fi kind of thing, going through galaxies, planets and sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I think it was actually my second game on the PS2, but first being some crappy RPG called Dot Hack, which I'm really not a fan of.
Dot Hack? Isn't that an anime?
It's an anime, and the game is crap.
Isn't that an anime? I was sure that was an anime.
It's got, there's a lot of game. Basically, it was like a rip-off. I paid like like 20 quid for a game. But what they've done is they've split the game up into like and you have to essentially buy
4 games
to play the amount of content that you would for one
game.
And it's not even that great.
Welcome to Intermission.
So we haven't really got much time left, and we're going to have to end this show right about now, I'm afraid. But, I mean, as much as this podcast is unorganised and, you know, we've been going off on our random tangents, we originally intended to be, like, structured and stuff, but we've kind of gone off a tangent.
Yeah, I don't think you can structure things like this, especially when it's just one big record.
I'm hoping that you might have got something from it. And there's not, like I said, there's no expectation for this to go anywhere. Maybe you liked it, maybe you didn't. It'd be cool if you could leave some content. I mean, we're still in the stage of working out where we're going to host this. I think we're thinking about YouTube
at the moment. Yeah,
you know.
It's, also, what direction this podcast is going in, because at the moment we're covering everything about games.
But if there's any
if
anyone wants to get in contact,
or you have questions,
ideas
comments, and ideas, just say something so we at least know what you think. Don't just be quiet about it. We like to know what you think if you've listened. That's if you listen in the first place. So,
I mean, one thing I did want to kind of start with, but we never did, but we can do this next time, is I wanted to kind of talk about our backgrounds and how how you got into gaming to begin with, and then how I did it. You know,
the Banhammer podcast will be from then to now, where we came from and where we're going. Yeah,
because it's like we really didn't really introduce our own backgrounds. Another one was, what games are you playing at the moment?
So that will be the next Banhammer podcast. And to be honest, we really don't know when it will be out. Hopefully within the next 2 weeks. If not, it'll be the next month.
Yeah, hopefully we can get it out fairly frequently. But
if we can get it out frequently, we'll try and organise a schedule. But anyway, this is it. Me, Levi.
And myself, Hush. And this is the Banhammer podcast.
Thanks for listening.
Until next time.